In October 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik into space. First satellite in human history. Here was a country that had industrialized faster than anyone thought possible, built a nuclear arsenal, and now beaten the most powerful nation on Earth into orbit. A lot of serious economists at the time genuinely believed the Soviet economy would overtake the West. Some Western textbooks in the 1960s were still projecting it would happen by the 1980s. By 1991, the whole thing had collapsed. Not from a war, not from invasion, it just fell apart from the inside. So what actually went wrong? In 1917, when the Bolsheviks took power, they inherited a mostly agricultural country that was exhausted from war. The plan was to transform it into an industrial powerhouse through central planning. The state would own everything, decide what gets produced, how much, where it goes, and at what price. No private property, no markets, no profit motive. Just the state allocating resources for the good of everyone. On paper, it sounds like it could work. In practice, it ran into a problem that nobody had a good answer to. Without markets, you do not have real prices. And without real prices, you have almost no way of knowing what people actually need. This is not obvious at first, so it is worth slowing down on. In a market economy, prices are constantly moving based on what people are buying and selling. When something becomes scarce, the price rises. That rising price tells producers to make more of it and tells consumers to use less. When there is too much of something, the price falls and things balance out. This happens across millions of products at the same time, with no one coordinating it. The Soviet planners had to do all of that manually. An agency called Gosplan was responsible for coordinating the entire Soviet economy. By the 1980s, they were managing nearly 12 million different product types. Every year, they would set targets for every factory, every farm, every industry across a country, covering 11 time zones. How much steel, how much grain, how many shoes, how many tractors, all of it decided in Moscow. The problem is that by the time the plan reached the factory floor, it was already out of date. Conditions change. A drought hits a region, a machine breaks down, a material runs short somewhere up the chain. In a market, these disruptions get absorbed through price changes almost instantly. In the Soviet system, the plan just said what the plan said, and the factory had to figure it out. And this is where it gets interesting. Because the people running the factories were not stupid either. They adapted, just not in ways that were good for anyone. Factory managers quickly learned that the safest thing to do was to hit your target and nothing more. Exceed it, and next year, your target goes up. Fall short, and you are in trouble. So output was carefully managed to look just good enough. Doing less than you were capable of became a survival strategy. The targets themselves created strange incentives. A nail factory, judged on the number of nails produced, had every reason to make the smallest nails possible. Switch the target to weight, and suddenly you get a few extremely heavy nails. Neither is what anyone actually needs. There are actual recorded cases of this happening. A chandelier factory in the 1950s was given a target by weight. They started making chandeliers so heavy they were pulling ceilings down. Nobody was trying to cause problems. They were just responding to the incentives in front of them, which is exactly what people do in markets too. The difference is that in a market, the incentive is to give the customer what they actually want, because that is how you make money. In the Soviet system, the incentive was to satisfy the plan. And the plan was just a number written in Moscow by someone who had never seen your factory. Agriculture was where this played out most brutally. In the late 1920s, Stalin forced millions of farmers off their private land and into collective farms run by the state. Farmers who had spent generations working land they owned now worked for a quota they had no say in. The connection between effort and reward was gone. Productivity collapsed. A famine killed somewhere between 5 and 8 million people in Ukraine alone, a region that had been one of the most fertile in the world. The Soviet government was exporting grain during the famine to fund industrialization. The economy kept functioning in a basic sense for decades because the state could direct enormous resources into whatever it prioritized. Heavy industry, weapons, space. When you control everything, you can pour everything into a few things and get impressive results. Sputnik was real. The nuclear arsenal was real. Soviet steel production was genuinely enormous. But consumer goods were a different story. By the 1970s, the gap between what ordinary Soviet citizens had access to and what people in Western Europe had was obvious and getting worse. Basic things were in short supply. Queues outside shops were a normal part of daily life. People waited hours for bread, for shoes, for soap. A joke from the era goes, a man walks into a shop and asks if they have any meat. The shopkeeper says, "No, we do not have any fish. The shop with no meat is across the street." The black market filled the gap. Because the official prices were set by the state and had nothing to do with actual supply and demand, real prices emerged underground. By the 1980s, the black market was not a fringe thing. It was part of daily life, which is telling. Even inside a communist system, people found ways to create markets because they needed them to function. Mikhail Gorbachev came in 1985 and could see the system was failing. His reforms were attempts to open things up and modernize. But loosening a system that had been held together by central control without replacing it with working markets just created chaos. The economy shrank fast. Shortages got worse. By 1991, several Soviet republics had already declared independence, and the whole structure came apart. Now, it is worth saying clearly that this is not an argument that free markets are perfect. They are not. They produce inequality, they fail to provide public goods, they create costs that the price does not capture. None of that is a small problem. But what the Soviet experiment showed over 70 years is that replacing markets entirely with central planning does not work at scale. The information problem is too large. No planning agency, no matter how big, can process the volume and complexity of information that prices handle automatically in a market.